Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Right, so today we are doing a album review for the band, is it called Dismal? And the album is via Entis. Before we get into the detail of what we thought about the album, we'll just let you know we're at the Club 85 venue here in Hitchin in Hertfordshire. A great live rock venue. It does do other things, but we don't care about anything apart from rock and metal. So come here for that, I guess. If it's anything else, don't care.
Punk, if you like punk.
Punk occasionally, if you've
include
got
that within rock and metal, don't we?
pogo in and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, right. So I guess I'm going to kick off today's thoughts on the album. So when we got our list of albums to review, this said gothic rock. So I'm sitting there thinking Sisters of Mercy, something. When I think gothic as well, I also think maybe a lighter version of Evanescence, maybe, or some sort of gothic element's going to come in, maybe some synths or something. That weren't what I got. It's as simple as that, all right? But I went in there I tried to go in there with a completely open mind as far as what I was listening to. So my first thought things, I started thinking about the mixing. I wasn't a fan of the production of the album. So whoever did the production of the album, as far as the mixing, recording, I just think it's slightly off. It feels unbalanced as far as the overall sound. It felt very clicky on the old kick drum, which I'm not a fan of. It's just too clicky. So the drums and the kick drum and the snare mix are just not right for me. They sit too far forward. They just don't sit with the rest of the band. You don't get the warm feeling of the rest of the music. It's a little bit harsh. But let's talk about Return to Emerald Forest, first track. Very theatrical piece, which I lost interest in at 2 minutes. And that pretty much stayed the same for me for the album as it went on. I struggled after the first 2 minutes to really invest myself. What I did find was I kept sitting there waiting for something to reconnect with me, to make me really enjoy it. What I do have is, the more I thought about the album as it went on, I did realise where the band or the album works well. It's very much a visual band. This, to me, I could imagine seeing this as a stage show. Everything they were doing made me think of actors and actresses on stage talking to each other, telling a story and stuff like that. It wasn't something I expected to do listen on an album. Without anything to look at, anything to connect with, you have to try to put yourself in their mind and of the story and visualize it yourself, which can be a lot of hard work when you don't know what the concept of the album is and stuff, and you're trying to take it for the first time. I did like The Alchemist. I thought there was some nice theatrics and storytelling in that particular track. The other thing I did point out is, for me, vocally, it's not... It feels like it's 90% of where it needed to be for the album. So there were points where the vocals were really nice, really strong. I liked the melody. And then there were certain points where I felt that the vocals were slightly off. I also felt that it was almost like the vocalist was undecided about where they wanted to go with the vocal melody. So they were doing some really odd, strange vocal lines, very rhythmically. There were lots of rhythm to, and you're like, you're almost going jazzy in it. And I just felt that they were trying to be too different rather than trying to find a melody that felt very natural.
Oh, can I just come in on that point? So this band, this is their 6th album. They're Italian, and guess what? It's the debut album for the singer, and she's a professional jazz singer, so that explains why. Caterina Accorsi, she's called. Yeah.
It's one of those ones that I can kind of see that there are people that are going to really like this, and I don't think it's a bad album, but it's something that I couldn't see myself going and listening to again. But it's because it's the wrong style for me, not because it's a bad album. But I still think that the production quality of the overall album finish wasn't there for what I would expect from an album, for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kirk. I think we ought to finish this on a sort of a positive and a bit more detail. I struggle with this. I couldn't finish it, to be honest. Unlike you, David, I don't sort of analyse how good the production is, or the format of the band or anything like that. I concentrate on the music that's there, and I hope there are people who do like it. Otherwise, it's a lot of time, effort wasted, and I apologise to the band and any fans that are out there, but it sounded, if I wanted to hear something like that, and I wanted something with quality, it's Clanad, really, for me. I thought the vocals were quite weak. The songs didn't interest me long enough to, as I say, to even reach the end of the album, to be honest. I really, I tried, and I always try to be objective with these, and it's obviously it's a selection, sorry, it's a choice that we've made from a list of new releases this coming week, but not for me this one.
I think when you said about like these songs struggle to hold interest, and I think that's when. So if when you get to like, there's a lot of big theatrical stage shows, and then they put the album out of the stage show. If you've never seen the stage show, the songs don't make any sense. They're not that interesting. But then when you can relate them to the visual stage show that you've just seen, you engage with it a lot more. You remember what you've seen. This is where this concept comes with this band. I think if this had been played with a very visual stage show performance, maybe that's what's in their head. They're trying to create a visual theatrical stage show. The problem is if you haven't got the stage show to use it, you're missing 50% of the actual end package. And I think that's where, because I was very much like Andy, by the second song, I'm sitting there looking at the songs I've got to get through and going, crap, I've got to listen to the rest of this. But then I had to try and put my head into the point of, well, hang on, let me see what was the purpose of it. Because this is not a bunch of songs they've put out for people to have hooky melodies in there for sing-along purpose. This is not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to get slam hits going. They're not. You couldn't see people here just slamming and stage diving. So what was the purpose of it? They're here. From then, looking at the lyric elements and the song titles, you then realise that actually they're going for storytelling styles. They're trying to get a story across, and the whole album is a journey of a story, but without the physical stage show part, it feels like it's lacking. And I think we needed that. That's where I would sit on it.
I mean, so I approached this like you two. I mean, I ended up loving this album. I'll give you the reasons why. So not only because it was so enchanting, but yeah, I sent out the list, didn't I, of potential albums to review, and the PR company just said Gothic rock. So I put it on the spreadsheet. Dave's looked at it and thought that from Italy, it's probably going to be like Lacuna Coil. This will be easy to review. And you're right. Within 30 seconds of the opening song, Return to the Emerald Forest, I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? And then I knew within one song, it's neoclassical, avant-garde, dark wave music. I was like, this is way out of my comfort zone, but I do always give this type of music a listen, and I'll give you a reason why. Because on that opening track, to me, that is like Dead Can Dance entwined with Björk in a film directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it's as if it's leading you, or it's got a breadcrumb trail that's deliberately leading you back to the witch. I think it's very sinister, this music. So you've got these beautiful mezzo-soprano vocals. You never know what the structure of the song's going to be like. So you two, that put you off, didn't it? When you get to track number 2, White Alexia, Red Alexia, you're thinking, probably, how do I get my head around this? What is their purpose? And to me, I'm looking at the opposite. I'm thinking, maybe I might discover a pattern in this, because there's clearly nothing there to begin with. And I just found it so bountiful, but there was so much malice even in the violin bows of track number 2. And the point on the production, I loved it. You're right, the drums were so at the front of the mix, really hi-fi, weren't they? And they threw in a couple of offbeats as well, which just kept me second guessing. Another reason I liked it, because it wasn't promoted as a metal album, even though their roots are actually in gothic metal, even a bit of black metal in the demo days in the 90s. This is their 6th album, and it just, I think even they've given up on telling you what it is. Just go and listen to it and discover it. That vocalist, it's a first album with the band. I think she is superb on this. Caterina Accorsi, so as I say, professional jazz singer. There's a song on here where even she, I think I agree with you, Dave, the last song, History to Unlock, she's almost mesmerized by the celestial brilliance of the song, where she's not sure what to do, and she just puts these layered multi-harmonies in, and you've got these chugging metal guitars which come from nowhere and don't really fit with the mood of the piece, but it works. It second guesses you at every point. It's almost like, do you know that Tchaikovsky Is it Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy? Dun, 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 dun. It's like that, but more macabre with screeching violins, and there's always a chance that there's an encounter with a beast in a secluded forest. It is so dark, so enchanting, so mysterious. So if you like Your Dead Can Dance, you are gonna absolutely love this album. I would call it a gothic album. I mean, how much darker can it be? Just because it's so left field.
Maybe like dark folk music. I wouldn't call it gothic. It felt more folky elements in there for me. It felt.
Do you think it was quite highbrow, wasn't it, as well? But it did have like a venomous aggression to it at parts as well.
I think I'd be interested if this is the vocalist's first album. I'm always intrigued when a vocalist comes into a band. If the music and the songs were written prior to that vocalist being there, how much say did the vocalist have in the writing? Because it did feel there was elements where it didn't quite suit right, and I'm wondering if it was written for her. And maybe another album will give us a bit more idea when she's had a chance to write, because it also depends on the writing character in the band. I don't know, so in like with Nomadic Rain, when you're writing stuff, does vocalists write their own vocal lines, or do the guitarists write? I know in some bands a lot of the guitarists will write the vocal melodies for vocalists. I know in Telescribe, I know Kim does her own vocals and stuff like that, so it's all very individual stuff, and so I don't know, it just doesn't feel something quite right. As I said, the best way I could put it on the album for me was something felt unbalanced.
That was deliberate to me, though. That's why I liked it. It's meant to unnerve you. There's an element in that. There's a song, yeah, you mentioned it, The Alchemist at the King's Court. Yeah. Really, if you know that band Septic Flesh, it's very similar to them. It just doesn't have the death metal guitars in there. The symphonics are really violent and brooding, aren't they? You know that there's something sinister ahead. As I say, it's very macabre. They could have made this a really luscious melodic album, and they've deliberately chosen to do the opposite, still using those glorious melodies, but just making them sound mischievous. And I love that element.
Okay. Should we score it then? I think we're at that stage.
Yes, let's score it.
Andy, so for you, we've got the 4 scoring systems. We have bin it if we think it's an awful album and should never have been made. Trade it if you think someone else might like it and you could get something else out of it, so you could trade it with someone else. Stream it if it's something that you would love to listen to but not enough to actually spend money on it. Or you've got buy it if it's something you'd invest in. Kick it off, Andy. What would you do?
Knowing the history of the band that Kirk's elaborated on and how much he enjoyed it, it'd have to be a trade. It's obviously not a terrible album. I just didn't like it. I didn't give it the time. I fully admit that. You know, I'd rather have concentrated on the Groove Symposium one, which I had lots of plaudits for. But no, it's a trade it for me.
Trade it. Yeah, I think you were just too busy thinking about the Obituary album coming out next. I think that's what it was. Yeah, I'm basically the same. It's a trade it for me. I don't think it's a bad album at all. It's just something that is completely outside of my scope to really listen to. And no, that doesn't mean I'm narrow-minded. It means it's not my style of music. So unfortunately, but I can kind of see what they're doing, and it's just something I wouldn't listen to again. But for me, it would be a trade it. Yourself, Kirk?
Yeah, I am gonna stick my neck on the line here, and I would buy it. Just one other thing I forgot to say. The vocalist as well, she's really dramatic in her voice. It reminds me of that English songwriter Scott Walker. He was at his peak in the late 1960s. She's really got a similar vocal style that almost borders on obsession with every word that comes out of her mouth. So that's another reason for me. So I would buy it. Way out of my comfort zone as well, though. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I think that's probably why I enjoyed it so much, because I still don't really understand it. And I feel that there's repeat listening value in that.
Fair enough. Well, there you go. That is our final decision from the channel. So for Dismal and via Entis, the channel gives it a trade it. So we would trade it to someone who really likes that stuff. And if you're really into it, I'm sure you will enjoy that particular album. Well, that's it for us from today. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe. And we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.